willing to speak with you, though, if you recall.
Yes.
In fact, we see on the video that at one point his wife says, maybe we should get a lawyer, and James and appeared to be open from what you could tell from that point forward during that interview.
Correct.
He said, he told you that he had been in town, correct?
Yes.
That he saw the police cars?
Yes.
Many police cars. That he tried to get to the high school?
Correct.
That he couldn't get there?
Correct.
That he went to the Meyer and saw all the students?
Yes.
And that he was trying to get a hold of his son?
Yes.
And he specifically said he was trying to get a hold of his son to see if his son was okay?
Correct.
He then at some point told his wife about what happened at the school, the shooting that happened at the school.
Yes.
At about 5 minutes and 18 seconds of the interview, James was very clear that they didn't have issues with their son.
Yes.
That he didn't believe that they had been having issues with their son. Is that fair to say?
That's what he said, yes, ma'am.
He talked about the fact that his friend had been sent away.
Yes.
And let me clarify. James talked about the fact that his son's friend had been sent away.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Okay. And that their dog died.
Yes.
James's mother passed away that April.
Yes.
At 6 minutes and 24 seconds, you were looking at the math homework on Jennifer Crumbley's phone, and I believe it was you that said, did anyone ask him about this?
I believe specifically the bullet holes.
Correct.
Yes, that's what you're referring to.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
And I was going to say that. And I was going to say
Oh.
specifically the bullet holes, or what appear to be bullet holes, on the figure that's drawn on the math homework.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jennifer responded no.
Right.
And then she kind of talked about the counselor, and there was a brief discussion about the counselor, and you wouldn't know what happened with the counselor, correct?
I do not.
Okay. At 6 minutes and 35 seconds, there was a statement that their son was a perfect kid.
Yes.
In their eyes, he was a perfect kid.
That's what they said.
At 6 minutes and 45 seconds, James told you that he had a 6-hour handgun.
Yes.
That was, at 6 minutes and 50 seconds, he said that it was hidden in an armoire in a case.
Correct.
At 6 minutes and 58 seconds, and these are approximate timestamps, I'm not holding you to them, Detective.
I really appreciate it.
6 minutes and 58 seconds, that the bullets were hidden in a different spot under jeans, he says.
Yes, ma'am.
It was shortly after that discussion that James indicated that they would like a lawyer present, and it was understood that it was for their son.
That's what my interpretation of what he said was, yes.
And we see that in the video. You, in fact, advise his son later in the video that that James and his wife want to hire an attorney retain an attorney for their son.
Yes.
Okay. And James continued to talk to you.
He did.
Jennifer explained that at the school advised that their son could stay at school or go home, but that they both indicated they wish they would have taken him home that day. If you recall.
I don't recall. I remember her saying it. I don't remember. There was over talking.
And we saw that. There was over talking a couple of times. James told you that he didn't have any trouble with his son, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you or your partner asked that. Have you ever had any trouble with him? Has he ever gotten in trouble? And James said no. He had mediocre grades, right?
Yes.
They were up and down. James or his wife indicated that they'd found out the night before that he had an E in geometry.
Yes.
And there was an argument about it that night.
Yes.
They had gotten on about his grades.
Yes.
At about 11 minutes and 17 seconds, and you weren't in the room, but you did see the video, your former partner, now retired partner, indicated that, reassured James that his son was going to be okay.
Yes.
That he was going to be safe.
Correct.
Obviously, you can see from that conversation that James was concerned about his son.
Yes, he was.
And the safety of his son, and the well-being of his son.
Correct.
Your now retired partner also said that it was going to get worse before it got better.
Yes.
Meaning the situation that they were discussing on November 30th at approximately 2:58 p.m.
Correct.
1:58 p.m. Thank you.
Yep.
At about 12 minutes and 5 seconds of the video, James indicates that his son was just fine that morning.
Yes.
That he had talked to him.
Yes.
That they had talked about the grades issue.
Correct.
That James told his son, we just want you to try.
Correct.
There was no indication that James had any concern about his son's well-being that morning, that he hadn't exhibited any signs that there was anything wrong. In fact, he had spoken with him and reassured him, correct?
That's what he told us, yes. I wasn't
Right.
there, obviously.
And you weren't there for the conversation, but in the moment during this interview, that was your understanding, that there had
Yes.
been this conversation, that there were no concerns based on that conversation.
Correct.
At about 12 minutes and 48 seconds, either you or your partner asked if James's son was active on social media, and he said no.
Correct. Yes. They, like, on Facebook, but she jumped in and said Instagram, I think.
Correct. So James's wife was aware that their son was active on social media or Instagram, but James clearly was not aware of that.
I don't remember.
Okay. At approximately 13 minutes and 45 seconds, and there was some over talking, but there was a discussion about empty magazines.
Yes.
And specifically, either yourself or your partner asked how many magazines there were in the house.
Yes.
And the magazines were referring to the magazines that go into the firearm,
That's correct.
which is what holds the bullets.
Yes, ma'am.
And James indicated that there were 3 magazines,
Yes.
that they were all empty,
Yes.
that they were stored empty,
Yes.
that the gun was stored empty,
Correct.
that the ammunition was stored separately.
Yes.
And then there was additional conversation between James and his wife about ammunition.
Yes.
There was a question about how much ammunition was in the house.
That's correct.
And at about 13 minutes and 54 seconds, James indicates to his wife, you bought the ammunition when you guys went to the shooting range.
Yes.
And you understood that to mean that James's wife and their son bought ammunition when they went to the shooting range at some day prior to November 30th.
Well, hold on a second, Judge. The video and the statements of James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley speak for themselves. His impression of what their statements are, that's an improper question. That's why we'll have a transcript of it.
Yeah, that would cause him to speculate his impression of what they said. Is that true?
What they meant.
What he understood, that the statement, you bought them when you went to the gun range, what that meant. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, but I can move on.
It's the video. It's a video, Judge.
There was, Jennifer Crumbley also indicated that going to the gun range was a hobby that James and his son did together.
Yes.
At about 17 minutes and 32 seconds, James and his wife, yourself, and your partner leave that first interview room, and this is, and walk into the second interview room where their son is handcuffed to the wall.
Yes.
You advised their son that James and his wife wanted to retain him an attorney. At 19 minutes, it was a fairly short interaction from what we can see on the video, correct?
Extremely.
And at 19 minutes and 2 seconds, as James and his wife are leaving, James repeatedly tells his son that he loves him.
Yes, he does.
And he says it over and over. I think I counted 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
At 19 minutes and 18 seconds of the video, we switch back to the first interview room where James and Jennifer, yourself and your partner, are walking into that room. And James enters the room, and you can see on the video, he's obviously crying.
Correct.
Very loudly.
Yes.
It could be described as sobbing.
One could characterize it as that. Yes, ma'am.
He's clearly incredibly emotional.
Yes.
Shortly after that, James asks about his son's whereabouts and if he will be made aware of where his son is going to be.
Yes.
Again, it appeared that he was concerned about his son and if his son was going to be okay.
Again, that's speculation, Judge.
Well, his statements speak for themselves. I don't think he needs to be interpreting them. That is speculating.
You've done many police interviews
I have.
in your career. You've been a law enforcement officer for 29 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been a detective for much of that 29 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree that James learning that his son was the shooter appeared to be very unexpected to him?
Objection to that question, obviously, Judge. That is blanket speculation.
Yeah, then he's trying to speculate about how your client was feeling, right?
I mean,
It's a clearly improper question.
Yeah, it's insisting.
Thank you, Judge.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Real quick, Sergeant, let's talk about what James Crumbley didn't tell you. He never told you that he bought the murder weapon 4 days ago, did he?
He did not.
He never said he bought the murder weapon 4 days ago as a gift for his son.
He did not.
He never told you the gun was ever locked up, did he?
He did not.
He never told you the counselor told James and Jennifer Crumbley to take their son home that day, did he?
No, he did not.
Okay, in fact, he referred to it as doodling on the paper, right?
Correct.
He never actually mentioned that he actually had another son, too.
No.
In that portion of the video where he said, I love you, I love you, I love you, what was his son doing at that time?
Trying to talk to his mom.
Okay, and his son was actually saying, I did it at that point.
He did.
So James was yelling, I love you, I love you, I love you, louder, louder, and louder, over his son.
Your Honor, I don't know what the implication is that the prosecution is trying to make, but I don't think that's even a proper question.
Counsel clearly tried to paint a picture that he was saying, I love you to his son, and the video depicts something else, so I would like some context.
Okay,
Your Honor,
well,
I think-
whether or not he was trying to talk over his son is up to the jury
That's
to
fine.
determine. He's able to say, was he saying it at the same contemporaneous with his son saying, I did it, and in his opinion, did it get louder? But why he was saying it is up to the jury.
That's fair, Judge, thank you. Did he say it at the same time his son was confessing to a crime?
He was.
Okay, and did his voice elevate, get louder?
It did.
Okay. Now, they didn't retain him an attorney, though, did they?
Not that I have no knowledge of. No, they
Okay.
did not.
And James Crumbley actually did say to stop questioning, too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.